Hi, this is Abby from Witchcraft and Criminal History. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. Well, we're doing a very interesting topic. And this topic is kind of psychology. And I do it in my course. And pretty much it is nature versus nurture. Are we the product of our genes? Are we genetically disposed to be who we are, which is nature? Or are we the creation of our environment as we are growing older? Nurture. Is it nature or nurture? I've seen quite a few videos in regards to nature versus nurture, with a lot of videos. And it is a fascinating subject. Is it nature or is it nurture? And with, certain, killers, there are, ones would strongly suggest that it is nurture. But on the other hand, there are also killers out there, which is obviously nature, not nurture. And also you get ones which are both. Like, for example, with nurture, means the environment a person is exposed to as they are growing up since early childhood. A good candidate for this would be Aileen Wuornos. Aileen she had pretty much one of the worst childhoods I have ever heard. She was forced into prostitution at a very, very early age. There was rumours that she was sexually assaulted by her grandparents. She never knew her father because her father was in jail because he was a pedophile. And selling herself for sex at an early age to show you how much of dysfunction it was. She apparently also, had sex to her brother and to her grandfather. And she regrettably fell pregnant at the age of 16. And instead of the family taking care of their daughter or the granddaughter, because it was her grandparents, they kicked her out of the house. And she had to live in the woods down the street, with no food, no water, and she went to school even though she was pregnant and had nowhere to live. She was homeless. And eventually she had a baby. I think she had a son, and she gave it for adoption, and she actually left school and moved and hitchhiked her way, out of town. And to say the least, she went into, she stayed in prostitution for the rest of her life before she went down the deadly trail. That's a very good case of nurture. If she was in a loving family, a loving, caring family where she wasn't, forced to go into prostitution, there is a good chance that, yes, she had a temper, but there is a good chance that she could have had a better life. Probably getting married, having kids, and having a good life. And pretty much having the American dream. But it was denied to her, which is kind of sad about Aileen Wuornos. A good candidate for nature. We did one of these cases yesterday, actually. It was a good candidate of nature. And there's been films, I think there was a film in the 1940s called The Bad Seed, and this was also about this killer, and this was Jane Toppan. Even though I think with Jane Toppan, I think it was probably a mixture because she was denied and neglected most of her childhood. And that had to do something to her. But she also definitely had the genetics as well to predispose, her to going down the path she went. But do I think Jane Toppan was insane? Not at all. Another good example of nature would be, I think, Ted Bundy or Theodore Robert Cowell. He would be another one who'd be good for nature. Because he was brought up in a loving, caring home where he was loved, he was taken care of. Yes, he had a bit of a misunderstanding when he was growing up because he didn't know. He was misled to his parentage. Ted Bundy believed that his parents were, his parents, and his older sister was his sister. But the truth was, and he later discovered this, that his older sister was in fact his mother, and his parents were his grandparents. And he got a little bit upset as he was getting older when he was taken away from his grandparents, who he was believed was his parents, and he didn't understand why his sister was taking him away from his mum and dad. But apart from having that confusion, which in some ways you can understand why he was confused, but he was living in a perfectly normal home. In a normal home, and even Ted Bundy said himself that they were loving, they were caring, they took excellent care of him. And his stepfather, adopted Ted Bundy. And that's how Theodore Robert Cowell became Theodore Robert Bundy. And, he got treated with love and respect. But he decided to become a serial killer. And that's a real good case for nature. And also there was another thing about Ted Bundy, was I think it was his sister. But his sister woke up, it was his sister, also his mother, woke up one morning surrounded by knives with Ted Bundy looking at her. He was about 3 or 4 years of age. So, that told you there was some dysfunction with Ted Bundy. And obviously something was deep down in his genetics, because he had, love, attention, and he was in a good home. And then, that would be a very good case for, nature. That Ted Bundy was pretty much born. He was born to kill. And I sincerely doubt that if he knew right away that his sister was his mother and his parents or his grandparents would have changed anything. I would highly doubt it. Good cases for being a mixture. A mixture of both nature versus nurture, both nature and nurture would be, Ivan Milat. If you guys know who Ivan Milat is an Australian serial killer. He was also dubbed as the backpack murderer. And, he did terrible things to backpackers. I will do a video later on Ivan Milat. But with Ivan, he was brought up in a large family. There was no order in his family. There was a lot of disorder. They were pretty much, if you were an American, you would probably said they were pretty much a bunch of hillbillies. So, guns were very important to them. They were actually shooting at each other. The brothers and sisters were actually physically shooting at each other with guns. And I think there was also abuse as well. But also, there was a lot of criminals within the Malat family. So, there would have been, Ivan Milat would have been genetically predisposed of committing these crimes. But also, it was the nature. It was also the nurture of his environment. And I think a few of his brothers and his sisters, I think a few of them actually went to jail. Ivan Milat wasn't the only one who got sent to the slammer. I know quite recently, I think it was a few years ago, his sister was actually going into politics. So, because there was a big uproar and a lot of people in New South Wales didn't want a Milat in politics. So, but like what I said, it was, very turbulent, turbulent household. So it was both nature and nurture for them being the way they are. Another good case for a mixture or combination of nature versus nurture, or nature and nurture, would be Amelia Dyer. Amelia Dyer, if you guys know who she is, I'll just, explain it to people who may not know who Amelia Dyer is. Amelia Dyer was an English serial killer. She was a baby farmer. And if you want to know what a baby farmer is, they pretty much, for fee would take in children who weren't loved and weren't wanted. It's pretty much what the government does today. If you've got a child who's unloved, unwanted, they'll be put into foster care. Or given up for adoption. In Victorian times, you will pay a substantial fee to get rid of the child. And that's the job what Amelia Dyer did. And with Amelia Dyer, she, for quite a little bit, you could say she was definitely well loved. Because she was very privileged. She actually went to a school and she learned how to read and write, which was a privilege. So going to school, she was obviously loved, which is nurture. She was nurtured. However, when she was, I think, about 10 to 12 years of age, she saw her mother, who she believed was insane, completely losing it. And I think she had typhoid or something like that. But she went completely, nuts. She, wouldn't, her mother didn't recognize her. She was very violent. And being a girl in the family, she would have been forced to take care of her mother. And witnessing that, is definitely, once again, nurture. But if you believe that with Amelia Dyer, you know, because that would have scarred her, and it did scar her. It scarred her for life. But she also would have had a genetical component. Because the simple fact is, even though she had the nurture part, there was something in her for her to do terrible things to children. And she did it over and over and over again. And when it comes to serial killers in the UK, she would have been the most prolific serial killer in British history. The most prolific. If you want to know what that means, it means she was one of the worst serial killers with time frame. That she killed heaps of people. And none of her victims survived Amelia Dyer. Mainly because they couldn't defend themselves. They were unable to defend themselves. You might be asking, why would they be able to defend themselves? Surely they'll be defending themselves from a crazed nut. Amelia Dyer's victims were babies. They were infants. And she killed them in multiple ways. Like she starved them. She strangled them. She also drugged them with laudanol, which is an opiate. So she did all these type of things. And she did it over and over again. They suspect that she might have killed maybe about 200 to 300 people. I think it'd be more likely about 600, because she was killing about 30 babies a week. That is a week, and she was doing it for nearly 40 years. Do the maths. That's a lot of dead babies. So yeah, she's definitely, a mixture between nature and nurture. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video about nature versus nurture. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and blessed be.